Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're putting on our seasoned studio engineer hats and looking at the cold, hard acoustics behind a problem we've absolutely all faced: why your guitar tracks might be sounding muddy. We're going to bypass the usual guesswork and dig right into the physics to fix it.
Let's start with a brutal question. You've got an amazing amp, a gorgeous guitar, but when you listen back in the control room, the track just sounds like a swamp. Why? Well, because often the muddiness isn't the fault of the amplifier, and it's certainly not the guitar. It's actually a fundamental misunderstanding of the microphone itself. The mud you're hearing is just physics.
Think of this as your masterclass syllabus on acoustic physics. We're going to cover the grill pressing disaster, the physics of the mud, the proximity effect, the inverse square law, phase and boundary effects, and finally, finding the sweet spot.
Section 1. The grill pressing disaster. So, there's this ubiquitous myth in recording studios everywhere that shoving a cardioid microphone right up against the speaker grill is going to give you the heaviest, most powerful tone. Sure, it looks cool and it isolates the sound, but physically speaking, it's often an absolute technical disaster. You're actually working against the fundamental design of the microphone itself, and honestly, you're choking the life right out of your tone.
Section 2. Physics of the mud.
To understand exactly why this technique fails so consistently, we really have to look inside the mic capsule. The vast majority of directional mics we use on amps, like your standard cardioids, are what we call pressure gradient transducers. Now what that means is their output relies entirely on the precise pressure difference between the front of the diaphragm and a specialized rear acoustic entrance. It's exactly that difference, that gradient, that makes the microphone directional in the first place.
To really make sense of this, let's compare it to an omnidirectional mic. An omni mic simply measures pure air pressure. It's basically just a closed chamber. Because of that, it has zero proximity effect, literally none. You could put it a millimeter away from the speaker and the frequency response stays totally flat. But directional mics, like our cardioids or figure eights, they measure a mix of pressure and velocity. Because sound enters both the front and the back of the capsule, they become incredibly susceptible to any variations in distance.
Section 3. The proximity effect.
All right, let's get firm about the math here, because this is where the damage happens. In a typical cardioid mic, there's a tiny distance, usually just 1 to 2 centimeters, between the front acoustic entrance and the rear acoustic entrance. When a sound source is extremely close, the difference in distance from the source to the front versus the source to the back is proportionally massive. This huge pressure drop over such a tiny distance acts as an entirely new artificial gradient. And because the primary pressure gradient is weak at low frequencies, this artificial gradient radically and disproportionately boosts nonlinear bass frequencies. That, my friends, is the proximity effect in action.
To put a number on just how severe this is, acoustic research demonstrates that pushing a dynamic cardioid mic, like a classic SM57, right against the grill can create a massive 20 decibel artificial boost in bass frequencies around 100 Hz. Let me repeat that. 20 decibels. At that point, you aren't capturing the amp anymore, you're basically just capturing a massive physical error.
This perfectly explains why tracks can end up sounding so bad. This artificial proximity boost doesn't make your track sound heavy. What it actually does is ruin the tone by completely overwhelming the mid-range and masking your high-mid clarity. It literally buries the interesting articulate elements of the guitar under a heavy blanket of low-end mud. Remember, the mud isn't the amp. The mud is the capsule physics reacting to being placed way too close.
Section 4. The inverse square law. So, if being too close is the mathematical problem causing all this low-end buildup, what happens when we pull the microphone away? Well, the acoustic rule governing this is the inverse square law. It simply states that every time you double the distance from the sound source, the sound pressure level predictably drops by exactly 6 decibels. By just moving the mic back from the grill, you allow that exaggerated nonlinear bass boost to naturally dissipate. You let the sound wave develop, and you finally hear the actual tone of the speaker cone, not the proximity error of the capsule.
Section 5. Phase and boundary effects.
Now, as great as that sounds, we can't just move the microphone infinitely far backward to escape the proximity effect. If we do, we slam right into our next major acoustic barrier, the physical room itself. If you move too far back, you hit what we call the critical distance. This is where ambient room reflections, sound bouncing off the floor and walls, become just as loud as the direct sound coming from the amp. Because that reflected sound takes longer to arrive at the capsule, it combines with the direct sound out of phase. This creates a degraded, notched frequency response known as comb filtering. Suddenly, your tone sounds totally hollowed out and distant. Furthermore, you've really got to watch your back. If you back up too close to a solid boundary like a studio wall, you trigger the boundary effect. Hard surfaces reflect low-frequency waves back in phase. Just having one wall behind your mic can artificially add 6 decibels of bass. Put it in a corner, that's 12 decibels. If you factor in the floor plus 2 walls, you are artificially injecting up to 18 decibels of misleading bass right back into your capsule. So a good rule of thumb is keeping your mics at least 3 feet from the nearest walls so you aren't lying to your own ears. Section 6. Finding the sweet spot.
All right, let's synthesize all of this. We have the proximity mud zone up close and the phase cancellation and boundary zone too far back. The solution is finding the mathematical middle ground. Finding the true sweet spot means carefully balancing these opposing forces. You need to move back far enough from the grill, maybe a few inches, maybe a foot, to escape that artificial 20 dB proximity mud. But at the same time, you must stay close enough to the amp to reject the room's boundary reflections and avoid destructive phase interference. You're hunting for that specific pocket of air where the capsule captures the pure, phase-coherent frequency response of the amplifier.
I'm going to leave you with a provocative thought to challenge your studio habits. Next time you set up a mic on a cabinet, before you automatically shove it right into the grill cloth, ask yourself, are you capturing the true, clear sound of the instrument, or are you just capturing the acoustic errors of a misplaced capsule? Master the math, back the mic up, and let the real tone breathe. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you on the next one.